The Turkish foreign minister has described this summit's preferred outcomes as a strong, capable, resilient alliance, and that will certainly be a top priority. Another unspoken priority will be making sure that alliance solidarity is reinforced rather than too many questions raised by perhaps behaviour of a certain US President, Mr. Trump. Obviously, NATO does not want to come across as divided. Alliance coherence is absolutely key for alliance credibility. And if you have strong criticisms from its leading, most powerful member, then that would not reflect well on the alliance. So key points will be to have an alliance that comes across as strong and credible and coherent, with any disputes minimized, or even better, if there can be any disputes avoided.
Has often criticised NATO while also calling for greater burden sharing. How do you see his approach influencing discussions among the alliance members?
The question of burden sharing is one that is valid. European allies have not spent sufficient amounts on defence. A lot of Donald Trump's criticisms have perhaps been on the very tactless and insensitive side, but some of the points he has made about the need for increased defence spending has been correct. And we are seeing the European members translating now words into action. Their defence budgets are, for the most part, going up. Already today, we are seeing announcements from the Defence Industry Forum of major investments, including in a lot of European technologies. So hopefully the European allies will deliver, and we will see increased defence budgets translating into increased investment in new capabilities for the alliance, as well as boosting industrial capacity. Because after all, equipment is only part of the equation of military capability. It also needs people, and it needs their supporting infrastructure, it needs supporting industry. So perhaps strong investment packages will assuage some of Donald Trump's concerns and criticisms of the alliance, although ultimately Trump is a NATO skeptic. He has been opposed to NATO now for years, for decades, and no matter what the European allies do, Trump will always be critical of NATO because he is fundamentally skeptical, or one could even argue opposed to the alliance.
And the Turkish President Erdogan has already met the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte ahead of this summit. What role is Turkey playing in shaping NATO's current strategic agenda?
Well, the Turks obviously are wanting to hold a summit that comes across and portrays as a capable, resilient, and strong alliance. Turks are investing in robust military capabilities. Already today, they have announced, as part of wider NATO investment in strike capabilities, that they will acquire large numbers of indigenous Turkish ground long-range cruise missile. So for Ankara, they'll want to be seen as good hosts and to boost European capabilities within the context of the alliance, and continue to improve relations with Donald Trump. Recently, Donald Trump has become amenable to Turkey rejoining the F-35 program that it had been expelled from for acquiring the Russian S-400 surface-to-air missile system and acquiring US jet engines. Those would considerably help Turkish military modernization efforts. So for Ankara, highlighting both a stronger European burden sharing capability within the alliance, boosting its own domestic defense industry and military capabilities, and improving relations with the United States will all be key priorities.
And so European leaders hope that President Trump's relationship with the President Erdogan and Mark Rutte will help ensure a successful summit. Do you believe those personal ties can overcome the recent tensions, particularly following the Iran conflict?
Can help perhaps assuage concerns publicly and perhaps keep Trump off social media, or at least keep him posting anything too damaging or too critical. But ultimately, Trump is really a NATO skeptic. He wanted NATO to join his war against Iran, and obviously it didn't, which has not gone down well with him. He still talks about Greenland changing status, which of course is a threat to alliance coherence and the territorial integrity of an alliance member. And Trump still is very critical, as well as his vice president, of wider European approaches to governance. So hopefully Erdogan and Rutte can smooth over any public disagreements. But what goes on in problematic, and whatever gets up to in the coming days and weeks will be problematic. After all, we might have a successful NATO summit this week, and in a couple of weeks, Trump will be back to Truth Social, posting more criticisms of the alliance or alliance members because they haven't done what he sees as the right thing within his own perspective.
And finally, sir, beyond the immediate defence commitments, what message is this summit likely to send to, say, Russia, China and other global actors about NATO's unity and their long-term strategic direction?
Assuming that there are no incidences involving Donald Trump and the summit is successful, and we're seeing, as I said, a lot of announcements today regarding defence investment, then, as long as NATO is still seen to be credible and its deterrent holds, then obviously Moscow understands that any military action or provocative actions against NATO would be met appropriately. Then that is obviously a positive. For China, it will be interesting to see how NATO's engagement with its Indo-Pacific partners, namely Japan and South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, builds. But the Chinese are obviously very concerned about any growing NATO connection to the Indo-Pacific region. Again, though, because of the inherently interconnected nature of the global system, the fact that North Korea is assisting Russia in its war against Ukraine, which is a threat to both the alliance as a whole and in particular to NATO's eastern members, then NATO conversely has an interest in Indo-Pacific security because of North Korean support for Russia. So it's a complicated, complex geopolitical picture, but obviously alliance solidarity and alliance credibility are key to regional and global security and stability, and that is the outcome. But the Ankara summit must ultimately